It feels like it was just yesterday we were standing out there under the smoking tree looking at this blank, vacant patch of grass and looking out into the baseball field, and now here we are, a couple years later, and we've got this magnificent building, and which we are going to officially dedicate tonight. Let me just introduce a few people who are up on stage with me right now. First of all, we have our incredible board chair, who's been a mentor, partner, friend to me for many, many years, and it's her dedication to this school knows no bounds. But Mary Hodges George. And then we've also got on stage our vice chair of the board, who has been on the board for, he's like Ron Hood, he just keeps going for one more year. But I think if you ask anybody who's associated with this building, there have been so many hands that have come together and so many minds that have worked hard to put it together. But if you ask anyone whose baby this is, it's Joel Williams. And Joel, and I would say that Joel's leadership and vision, it extends to this incredibly gorgeous building, but it also extends to his vision for this campus, that VES is going to have first-class facilities, and when we do something, we're going to do it right. So Joel, really appreciate your leadership on this, and your baby's about to pop, so. And then I've got to my right, Don White, class of 81, who gave the most touching and beautiful remarks about Mary Fagans today, and is going to make some remarks about Chris Smith. And then we've got Eddie Smith, Chris's dad, who's going to say a few words in Chris's absence. And then we're going to also have Jamie Johnson, class of 73, to speak about his classmate, Will Pannill, and then Will Pannill to say a few words. So anyway, let's get this going, and I'm so awestruck by this tent, by seeing all of you all here despite the weather and the challenges, and I know this is going to be a hell of a night, and I just can't wait to get this thing started. But let's first of all remember one of the main reasons we're here, to dedicate this incredible building. So Don.
I want to welcome everybody to this special evening. Many of us have been anxiously awaiting since February of 2020 as we dedicate in honor two of our distinguished alumni, Will Pannill and Chris Smith. In 2019, I met with Henry Clark, and he shared a grassroots initiative of 4 of Chris's classmates to honor him in a naming opportunity in the proposed academic building in which we're standing tonight almost. And I thought honoring Chris was a great idea. I'm so happy to be speaking about Chris, as he was a very dear friend of mine, more like a brother than a friend, as we were inseparable growing up as children. And then we attended VES together, came at the same time, and we're very, very close after graduation as well throughout our lives. As an alumni of VES, though, Chris distinguished himself with his leadership, serving on the board of trustees, chairing the finance committee, providing sound advice and direction for the endowment when it was most needed, and with his many philanthropic efforts, honoring faculty members such as Bruce McCormick, B.K. Mundy, and Phil Garmy, just to name a few. During his time on the board, when the school was facing many challenges and uncertainty, Garth Ainsley shared a story with us about Chris standing up in the board meeting, and to all in attendance, he said, when it comes to VES, I'm all in. And Garth went on to say that when he did that, the board really took notice, and it was a real inflection point to where we are today in the trajectory that we're enjoying today financially. Given all his time and work with the board and his financial support and love of VES, it was easy to see why we should be honoring him and giving him this recognition. Sadly, Chris was diagnosed in 2019 with ALS, so when we were talking about this, getting this fundraising done took on more importance to us. So after talking to a close friend, I called Henry and said, can I lead this grassroots initiative, because I really want to make this happen. And we decided we were going to shoot for a much bigger goal than what they'd originally thought. So with the help of 4 other alums, we were able to raise $1 million in 2 months to get a bigger naming opportunity in this prospective building. But little did we know, that was our goal, that COVID was going to hit us a month later. So we were, all facing this uncertainty and scared out of our minds in March and April of 2020, but we rolled up our sleeves and went to work in those 60 days, and we raised $1 million, which is a true testament to Chris, that people stepped up in all that time and uncertainty to come forward for him. Then the school, on May 5th, 2020, we were blessed with the opportunity to piggyback on a presentation they did for Chris and his family and surprise them with this news when he was awarded as the second recipient of the Robert Carter Jett Distinguished Alumni Award. That was a really, really special day for all of us, and one that I think about often. Soon after that presentation, I met with Chris's dad, Eddie, and discussed what we were planning to do at the building, and then asked him if he'd like to join us in our efforts. And with his additional support, we're now able to get Chris's name on the building and honor his memory. For many years to come, future bishops will enjoy this building as a focal point of campus life. And as Chris acknowledged in his remarks in September 2020, when he and his family attended the groundbreaking ceremony we had here, it will provide a place for students and faculty to gather together to create the lifelong relationships which are the cornerstone of the VES experience. For those of us who knew Chris, we'll come back to campus and see his name above the door and remember all the wonderful experiences we shared with him. I miss my friend every day, but I'm so proud to see his name on this building. And I'm hopeful that his positive example of steadfast leadership will be an inspiration for all of us to be all in our support of VES. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. I would just start by saying that everybody in this room would do very well to have a friend like Don White in their life. We did move to Greenville and moved in, had the good fortune of moving in across the street from Don and his family 54 years ago. Chris was 5 years old and Don was 6. Sorry, Don, if they can do math, they know how old you are. But they were best friends. They were the definition of very best friends for all of Chris's life. I want to first, obviously, Don, thank you for you and your classmates for the effort that y'all put forth in raising an incredible amount of money for an incredible building, and one that's just, to do that in Chris's honor is just, well, it goes back to the definition of friendship. And I want to personally, on behalf of Chris, thank everybody that was involved in donating to this building. It's just going to be an awesome, awesome thing for generations to come. And my wife and I took Chris on tours of right many boarding schools, 3 in Virginia. This was our last stop, and we hadn't been on campus an hour and had met just a few people. And he turned to his mom and I and he said, "This is it. This feels good. This is where I need to be." And indeed, he felt like that it was just the best thing that ever happened to him in his early life. He said it many times. Like John and Paul referred to last night, it changed his life in a very, very positive way. All the faculty, the students, everybody here that he came in contact with meant so much to him for literally the rest of his life. I'm so glad Chris was able to make it to the groundbreaking that they referred to. It took a Herculean effort on his part, but he was absolutely determined to be here. He was just so proud to have his name alongside his good friend Will Pannill on such an important building and such a legacy on this campus. The school, as I've said, and everyone he came in contact with here just meant the world to him, and I just thank each and every one of you. Thank you.
I want to say a few things about Will Pannill and his generosity over the years. I promised my dad when I was much younger that I would not drink a beer until I was legal age. That was at 18. I can remember Will's generosity included buying some Rolling Rock beer. We went to the hill beyond the faculty housing on the other side of campus. And there were a number of us that participated in that night. And Will, I haven't stopped drinking except for occasionally since then. Will's generosity, Will's a giving person, and he has led the example year over year from way back when. 50, can I say this, Will? Our 50th reunion is going to be next June. And Will has set the example for so many of us in our class and for other classes. And he has been a great example on the board, along with his generosity and his love for the school. I'm one of the luckiest people in the room. I'm in the greatest class ever, 1973. And you can ask Greg Prelo, Terry Sherrill, Neil Hammerstone tonight, and they will tell you the same thing. It's the class of 73, and this guy is the leader, and we thank you so much, Will, for everything.
I didn't know I was going to be up here with a basketball team. So, thank y'all for being here tonight. I'm excited as I can be. Thank you, Jamie, for all those kind words and others that have made them too. Eddie. I met Chris. Chris and I served on the board together for a few years, and he was a great guy. We had a lot of fun at night, and sometimes in the morning we weren't feeling too good. But he was something else, and I'm honored to share the name with him and his family. Most of you probably know where the boardroom is, but if you don't, I'll say it's the first floor of Jet, and the men's room is down below in the basement. And so every board meeting we would, take about 30 trips down to the men's room and over 3 days. And when you go down the steps, if you look to the left, there's a little classroom about half the size of this dance floor right here, with a little window in the door and 15 people sitting in there. And so, I think Chris and I knew at that time that it was time to make something happen. And so I'm proud to say that sometime right after Christmas, we're going to get all those people out of the basement. Thank y'all.
Well, it truly is an honor to be on the stage with all these incredible people who love the school. And it's funny, when you get to be old enough, you actually start to know the people for whom buildings are named. And I consider myself so lucky to be able to call both Chris and Will good friends, good mentors, and people I've served on the board with. They've been my boss when I was working here, and just people I have so much respect for, and especially their passion for the school. And I would say that while I think Chris and Will will always be the first people to make a self-deprecating remark about having the academic building named after them, behind those wonderful senses of humor, they do both have a lot in common. They both were incredibly bright and talented, and maybe not the kind of intelligence that readily lends itself to a report card, but the kind of intelligence that leads to success in the real world, and how to connect with people, how to build businesses, and how to live a wonderful life. They both have incredible passion for the school and have worked so hard to make this school a better place for future generations. As I said in my remarks at the naming ceremony, while we honor Chris and Will today by dedicating the building to them, I think VES, in my opinion, is the one being honored by having the Pannill and Smith names on that new building. And these are the names that future generations are going to revere in the same way we talk about Jett, Pendleton, King. And it's such an honor for me that I actually know these people, and I'm going to be able to walk by their memories and their names every day. So please join me, and I don't have a glass, but raise a glass to Will Pannill and Chris Smith in the dedication of the Pannill-Smith Hall.